I'm really excited to see investment DAOs become more of a thing and democratize investing for tons of people, which is hard to do in the real world. Like you have so many restrictions on who can invest in things and support founders. But I think in this way, this opportunity of upside allows more people to participate.
Hi everyone, and welcome yet to another exciting episode of NEWFORUM, and we're always happy to bring you awesome creators, visionaries, founders, and investors on our podcast. NEWFORUM is powered by a new foundation, and it's our aim to spark informative and human-centered conversations on the topics of crypto, the metaverse, NFTs, DAOs, and DeFi. And on today's episode, I'm super happy to have with me Eshita, who is a crypto research analyst at Messari and previously was a VC fellow at Bloomberg Beta. And I'm extra excited today because we are going to talk about Web3, DAOs, the future of crypto, and where she sees the market trend is going. Hey, Eshita, I'm happy to have you on today.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, so I'm super keen to know about how you got started within crypto, because I read some of your articles and it seems like you have such a wide range of insights on Web3 and crypto. So I want to know, how did you got started with it?
I've kind of had an on and off relationship with crypto generally. I got introduced to Bitcoin the end of 2017 and totally ignored it. It wasn't until the beginning of 2021 when I had some friends that were artists and they were starting to experiment with NFTs. And my first NFT was something I collected from a friend. And at this point was probably the first time where I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. I would love to understand how this technology works. Like, how does an NFT work and how does it differ from typical digital art? It was a really naive question. And so it wasn't until then when I was actually excited to dig deeper. And from then I started collecting more NFTs and then going deeper and finding out about DAOs. And so I did that fellowship with Bloomberg Beta, and the entire summer I was focused on DAOs because their whole fund focus is the future of work. I got to dig into DAOs and try to figure out how they fit into that picture. So it was kind of then when I realized I really love research, and then found my way to Messari.
Yeah, what I really like about your articles and website, it's kind of refreshing because first of all, it's written by a woman, and I feel like a lot of crypto and tech media is so it's very crypto bro-ish language, and I really like that you have your own kind of space, create your own space there. And you mentioned DAOs, but I'm wondering what kind of projects and things when you started your work, what got you the most excited? What were the projects where you're like, oh, I want to write about this and this gets me really excited?
Yeah, so initially when I started writing for Messari, I was fascinated by DAOs, just more on the social side. So Kraus House, some investment DAOs, because it was just such an incredible use case, and seeing people just come together on the internet and make their own rules about how they run things was really fascinating to me. So projects that were more on the social side that I was excited about, and then slowly became more excited about how governance works and how people come and coordinate and getting more into the mechanics. But for me, it was definitely more of the social DAO side, like Friends with Benefits, like Kraus House, and some of the other ones that were they started and got really, really popular last fall.
Yeah, I think we also had many people on here on the podcast talking about DAOs. It's really been next to NFT the biggest topic especially for the creative economy. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, how do you see the future of DAOs and in terms of scalability? Because as far as I know, there's a lot of smaller DAOs, and then there's investment DAOs, which seem to be working really fine. But then there's also product-based DAOs. And I'm just wondering, is there going to be a point where, there's so many members that you kind of lose track of the DAO features? Or I'm wondering, how do you see DAOs evolve?
I think the one feature of DAOs that we need to capitalize on more and think about is that it makes it really easy to form capital and deploy it quickly. And the types of DAOs that fit that bill, they are investment DAOs. They are the protocol DAOs like Uniswap, like Aave. My future vision for DAOs, I honestly don't see them becoming these large organization of thousands of people that come together and work together. That's just an incredibly complex problem. I think we'll see tons of small DAOs that are really structured and like that have limits on membership, have limits on what type of person enters that DAO. I know that's like very rigid thinking, but I think that these types of DAOs work well. We see that with the protocol DAOs, which is the oldest type of DAO that we have, and we've seen them see success. Like they have billions in their treasuries. So I think more on the social side, like the problems are going to take a long time to solve around like getting hundreds and thousands of people to come together and work together. I think that's going to be a challenge, but I'm really excited to see investment DAOs become more of a thing and democratize investing for tons of people, which is hard to do in the real world. Like you have so many restrictions on who can invest in things and support founders. But I think in this way, there's this opportunity of upside allows more people to participate.
Yeah, it's kind of like the compound effect, like in DAOs, if there's multiple people that want to go for the same cause, invest in the same project, then you have way more reach, you have way more people involved and interested, and people who have skin in the game. And yeah, I'm excited to see where DAOs are going and what kind of social issues they can help better with. And I'm wondering also, you're interested in NFTs, and you mentioned in one of the articles like how NFTs can shape industries like the music industry. And I'm wondering, where do you see the biggest potential for NFTs?
NFTs are such an interesting topic because people are always just talking, when they mention NFTs, we're talking about PFPs, we're talking about Bored Apes or CryptoPunks, or these projects that are essentially our luxury goods that are digital. I think for NFTs, we're going to start thinking about them more as what they are. It's an access control mechanism, and we're going to use NFTs for controlling access to different communities, experiences, and I'm excited. I think we're going to move in that direction where people start understanding like this is a type of technology, this isn't a picture. So I'm excited to see that. In terms of the other applications like music, and I've also really enjoyed kind of following the fashion side of things with NFTs. For music, I think it's tough. There's problems with distribution and discoverability with music NFTs, and also there's not enough of a market for them yet. I think it's a great way for creators or musicians to find an audience, but I think we're really early on the music NFT side. I am not too sure where that goes, but I think for a few artists, like this will be the way they earn, but I don't think it will be the norm for the music side. But I'm much more excited about fashion NFTs because like digital fashion is going to become such a big thing for us, especially because we realize we spend a lot of time on the internet. We're going to spend a lot of time gaming and in these like virtual worlds, and people are going to want to express themselves, and it literally makes sense that they would move and want to collect more pieces that they can wear on the internet, digitally render on themselves, and like have proof of ownership of.
Yeah, I think we had the discussion the other day with music. It's like you said, the market right now is really small because we're just in the beginning stages, and there's too many also competitors still, like in the traditional ways of music, I guess. But I'm really excited to see where the NFTs can be implemented in events, like you might be at a concert and you get an NFT, or collect things that kind of have a memory or something. And yeah, you're saying you're excited about digital fashion, and we also had Red DAO on, which is an investment DAO for digital fashion. And yeah, I'm wondering, do you feel like digital fashion is in 5 years, do you think like we're going to be using way more digital fashion? I mean, for me, I already see like people using filters, people trying to switch things up online with their editing. So I'm wondering, like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, are we going to use it more in the future? Or
I think at the most basic level, like digital fashion is gaming skins. So the gaming skins market is like a $40 billion market, and without anything being NFTs, people have been purchasing items and reselling them on different markets. And I think that's going to speed up a lot, especially when these skins become NFTs and people are able to move items across games. And then on the digital side where you can collect an NFT and actually render it onto yourself, like you can be wearing your cool digital NFT on your Zoom calls, on your TikToks and Instagram. I think that with better gaming engines, like it'll look almost real. I mean, even today, like a lot of pieces that people are creating look so real. And I think people are going to start realizing that it's less wasteful, it's cheaper to just use digital pieces if you're just buying something to wear on your Instagram or for a TikTok. I think that's going to become more exciting. The other part of digital fashion is like when you buy a digital item like an NFT and you can burn it to redeem the real thing, or you can have like a digital version and a physical version, so you can have like a digital Gucci bag in a game. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, and I think different types of people will be excited for different applications, like gamers, like creators, and just fashion enthusiasts. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for digital fashion, and I think in the next 5 years we're gonna have a bunch of digital pieces in our wardrobes.
Yeah, what I really like about digital fashion is, I mean, we had quite a lot of digital fashion designers on here on the podcast, and what I really like is about now that we have digital fashion, there's way more people coming from all over the world that have access to it because of the internet, because of they can have clothes on their laptop or on their smartphone. And before, it's usually like going to fashion school or studying these really intense programs is like there was really a limited accessibility for people who live in Paris, London, New York. And I feel like now, even if you're somewhere in the world and you might not can do the physical fashion, which is also more harmful if you think about all the production and the supply chain and everything, you can express yourself and be part of the digital space. And I think that's awesome to get these people involved. And I'm really seeing this happen, especially Twitch is such a huge thing right now, and like these gaming channels, and I feel like people after a while they just want more things to express themselves and not just like the same kind of items and things. So I'm really excited to see where this is going, and how the fashion of the future is going to look like, and how NFTs are going to play a part within that. And yeah, I'm wondering, like, from your perspective, I mean, you do a lot of research, and there's obviously these communities around the different blockchains and projects. And do you think there's gonna be interoperability between the projects, like coexisting projects that you can then, let's say NFTs switch from Solana to Ethereum, like back and forth? How do you see the future of like these multi-chain concepts?
I think the future is multi-chain for sure. I think that maximalism is something that's going to become less of, I mean, I do hope it becomes less of a feature of the space. So like just being like all in Ethereum, all in Bitcoin. Once we have enough users in the space, we onboard more people, we'll kind of figure out like, okay, Ethereum's best for financial applications. We put in all our resources to build upon Ethereum and make sure it's the most secure, because we don't want people's like assets to get lost. And then maybe Solana becomes the network for NFTs or social applications, then Polygon, something else. I think we'll come to a place where different chains might have different use cases, and people kind of dismantle that mindset that like only one chain wins. And I think we've already seen this with Ethereum. There's just so many users, and the usage has been skyrocketing in the past year, and it couldn't handle it. And if you just imagine like onboarding the next billion users to the space right now, it would unravel. It can't handle it. So the future is multi-chain. I think we'll figure out different use cases. And I think this maximalism mindset kind of drives value to these environments now. But I think that people will quickly realize that we can't think like that. And it's honestly, it's toxic on the cultural standpoint, but it's also like these different blockchains and communities have different strengths that we should lean on.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, but I also think maybe that was their way to get their foot on the ground in the first place. Like maybe that was the way they could only establish themselves, because like before like the Web3 or crypto space, like nobody was really like thinking about that or believing that that could really be possible. So I think that's why they, been so hard also on what they believe in. And definitely, I'm also wondering, like, our community, we use social media probably on a daily basis, and you're talking about the next generation of users. Do you think all of these, let's say, creators, influencers, do you think they're gonna it's gonna be part of their ecosystems as well in the future? Because I feel like right now we have the crypto space, the Web3 space, there's a couple of really engaged creators who really like are in it already, but I feel like the broad majority, they might own like an NFT, but they might not even know like what they can really do with it, or what this really holds in the future. So I'm wondering, do you think like these economic business structures are gonna also change in the future?
I think that Web2 social apps today make sense and people use them. TikTok's incredibly successful. It has an insane user base, and so does Facebook, so does Instagram, the Facebook bundle. I think yes. I think a lot of creators, once we have Web3 applications that work and people on board to, I think creators will quickly realize that they can monetize better on these Web3 applications because of the rails you put around them. And on the user side, that's, you're not just a sole creator, you might be a consumer and you're using social media. You might also be able to monetize through the actions that you take on a certain Web3 app. There's so much work being done on social graphs that will be a big part of Web3 that it's hard to bring. So if you start using a new app, you have to start from scratch of building your social graph, your preferences for the app. And it is kind of annoying because then the app has to learn about you now. And TikTok does an amazing job of this, but then you move it to Instagram. Instagram has different data points on you. So Web3 is just designed to be, if done well, it can do a lot for the user and creator and consumer on the app. And I think it'll be a few years before we find a really good Web3 app onboards enough users for there to be network effects and a reason for people to stay on there. But social media is just hard, but I think we will see Web3 social become more of a thing in the future.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just like the most exciting thing to think about, because I always see like news, like right now, like Be Real is having its like an upcoming moment, and thinking about things like Patreon and creators really wanting to, change the economics around social media in general and change things. So I'm really curious to see like what the next generation is what apps they're going to use, or like how they're going to do content and how they're going to distribute content. So yeah, and I'm also wondering, as a woman in the blockchain and tech space, like what kind of advice would you give for stepping into the space, and what has been your experience like?
This might be an assumption, but I think a lot of the time it can be intimidating to be a new person in the crypto space as a woman and be introduced to this culture that's very bro-y. I think that's tough. And from talking to a few women, the best way to really, if that's something you feel kind of intimidated or worried about entering a space that's predominantly men, there's a lot of incredible communities for women that are doing incredible work of inviting people to events, connecting people with each other. And there's like Boys Club, there's Her DAO, there's a few others. And I would definitely recommend just going that route of having that as part of your list of communities that you always check in on and try to be involved in. Joining these communities, I think, is really imperative, because then you get to be around women and people that share your ideals and struggles that you might have entering as a new person in the space. And I think that's the first step. And then also just like being open to asking questions and cold DMing people and getting on calls with people whenever you can. I think there's an assumption that if you're a new person, you can't make an impact in the space, but no one knows anything. Like, this is such a new space. You can add so much value if you just write a blog post, you could tweet something that you learned about. There's just so many ways to make an impact. So don't feel afraid to speak about what you care about and join communities that you want to be a part of.
Yeah, I love that, because I felt like before I entered the tech space, I was like never even considering like being part of this space, but now I feel like it's really welcoming once you find like your tribe within the space. And there's a lot of resources on all different, like on Twitter, on YouTube, where you can learn about NFTs, learn about like different communities, and just like you said, don't be afraid to reach out to people, don't be afraid to like ask questions. I think that's having that mindset is really, really important. And yeah, thank you so much, Eshita, for being part of today's forum. I think it's so like interesting to hear your insights as an analyst and researcher. And yeah, where can our community find you on your social platforms?
Twitter's perfect. So my handle is just at Eshita, my first name.
Amazing. And don't forget to read the amazing articles on Messari. And yeah, thank you for everyone being part of today's forum. If you want to also get more involved within our community, make sure to follow us on Twitter. We are NewForum_NCO, and we also have a Discord. Link is in the bio. And yeah, see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much.